My left brain gets very curious about how it's possible that I put in my name and my birth date and where I live, and all of a sudden I get this curriculum over my life and get all these answers so quickly online. How is that possible? Is this sort of and is it sort of AI generated somehow, or have you written everything down for each possible person in the world? Like, how is it possible that this text is coming out?
None of it is AI generated. It's all written intuitively, either by myself or Elijah Parker, who I work with, and so it's, we've gone very deeply into the layers of each archetype, the mythic layers, and how they play out and how they express themselves, and in order to help people kind of tackle real problems in their lives. But the answer to the birth time is, and I understand as well, is that, I don't know, I have a poet's mind, right? So I'm a poet. So I have the mind of a poet, and I'm really interested in mythologies and things like that. So I tend to look at the universe as a theater, and our lives as a kind of theater, as a drama that's playing out. And when you do that, you use both the left brain and the right brain. But if you also look at the universe as a hologram, as an encoded whole that has patterns within patterns and sequences and algorithms and sacred geometries and perfection which we see everywhere in nature, and we see it when we gaze up at the stars, and we see it in the deep biology of our body, and we see all these coded patterns everywhere we look, and algorithms that are running everything. Not just, it's not digital, but it's the fractal universe playing out. So if you do that with space, then you have to do it with time, because space and time are intimately linked. You can't separate them. So time also must have these algorithms and patterns and codings, and that enables us to look at the timing of things and to find patterns within time and space. So if you have a good map, a good archetypal map, you can begin to decode events, the event horizon of existence. And so that's what the Gene Keys does, is it uses astrology and human design and the information and the mapping, and it begins to decode the archetypal information. So you need to have a right brain as well as a left brain, because the right brain has to decode the archetype, the myth, the poem, the story, and the left brain has to see the number pattern and the crystalline grid of the timing and the sequence and the algorithm. But when you put those two together, you have like a really beautiful synthesis that enables you to unlock something that's very precise, a pattern and a code, but then also has a mythic quality and has a poetic quality that enables your emotional side to connect more strongly with it. So it's not just numbers, it's also narratives and stories and poems, and it's about love ultimately, and enchantment, and we're mythic beings. And our ancestors, your ancestors, as the Nordic people, they really knew this. They had these incredible encoded stories, that kind of contained these layers and archetypes. And it's the same with all cultures. Like, we look at them maybe as primitive and sweet, but actually those are the archetypes, the living archetypes, the mythologies of our race, and they contain the secrets of our future as well. So if you really understand the mythic codes of life, you understand where humanity's come from and where we're heading. So yeah, and then the Gene Keys allow you to live out your own myth.
So no profile is similar. They're all unique.
Well, no, they are similar. So if you're born on the same day as someone, you're going to have a pretty identical profile. But you see, as I said, it's not who you are. It's not telling you who you are. This is your curriculum. So you might go to university and be studying the same courses as another person, but as a soul, you're going to have a completely different experience as you go through those courses. You'll be good at some and not so good at others because you have this soul quality that you bring, and you may be much more mature in certain areas and less mature in other areas than your twin brother or twin sister if you were born at the same time or similar time. So do you see what I mean? It's like, it's not something we should hold too tightly, because we're more mysterious than a piece of paper, or a set of astrological coordinates. That's what I understood in my deep initial experience. We are vast. In the ray of your soul, when you feel it and it's love, it goes so deep, and it's unfathomably deep.
Have you ever sensed that same bliss feeling again? Has it ever come back to you? Or and is that a frustration that I want to feel that again?
It's like, if you're given the elixir of life, right, and you take like I said, it was a gulp. I took a big gulp, and then I swallowed it, and I had this incredible experience. But also, if you have the elixir of life and you take a little sip, it's like microdosing, right? So you can keep microdosing. And so for me, I have learned through the art of contemplation, which is about creating. Essentially, it starts by creating pauses in our lives. So we have to inhabit the pauses in our life. You'd like that because of the stillness, right? It's creating little pockets of stillness so that our consciousness can expand in those pockets. That's a discipline, right? And so as you begin to create that, what I've done over the years and decades is I created a practice out of that that's part of my life. And in those moments of stillness, I get to sip from the cup. And so the ecstasy of those higher states is accessible all the time, but only if we stop and pause and drink it. And that's what sometimes seems crazy, when we stop and pause and we drop into, it does require that you've done quite a bit of your shadow work, because if you haven't done your shadow work, when you pause, you meet the shadow, which is why people don't want to pause, because it's very uncomfortable. Because the moment you pause and stop, and you don't even have to close your eyes, you just sit there, just alone in a room with yourself. And if you haven't done that initial trauma work, it's very uncomfortable. So you have to do that work. And that's part of working with the shadow that Gene Keys does. But over time, you begin to transmute that shadow. And then when you pause, you meet your heart. And the deeper that goes, the more you transform of the shadow, the more of your bliss field you can drink. And so you become able to take those higher frequencies in, and it becomes a discipline in your life. And so, yeah, for me, it's every day, especially in the mornings. Like for me, the waking up in the morning early, and I have a little tea practice where I drink these little teas, a little teapot here, look, a tiny little teapot, and I drink really refined old Chinese tea, like three decades old tea. And it gives a little focus, so that, I drink a little bit, but it just opens up an energy in me that allows me to drink from that field of joy, of bliss. Not every morning is like that, but most are nowadays for me. And then I carry that throughout my day, and as best I can. I live a normal, busy life with kids and family and money issues and the rest, like the rest of us. So, I have to tackle that as well. But if you have this, if you have this discipline where you're dropping into the Siddhi field regularly, it's really a beautiful thing. And it's not difficult.
To watch the full video, click the link below, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel.